Hello and welcome to the Winning Agenda's coverage of Twilight Struggle matches. My name is Jessemarshall. I'm here with another very exciting game, not a tournament game again. Whoa, we don't want to bid that high. After our last one, I think we'll avoid saying our opponent's name. Oh my gosh, this is a very interesting hand. After our last game, we are hoping that we don't get trapped in any never-ending quagmires or bear traps, as the case may be. So, the old triple scoring card, turn one hand as the Soviets. Not something that has happened to me for quite a long time. How do we make the most of this? We do have 3 4-up cards, as 3 of our 4 other cards, including a US-Japan pact that we can UN intervention, so not all is lost. That is going to be some sweet, sweet coup ability. The question is, do we dump any of these scoring cards in the headline? Evidently not Middle East scoring. We also don't need to headline NASA, although it may be something that we play later in the turn. It may not be. We don't need to headline Europe scoring. In fact, we can try and jam with our high ops hand potentially. Headlining Asia scoring is the only one I'd consider here, although I think taking Afghanistan on AR2 may be an option that's available to us. But we probably can't afford to both take Afghanistan and threaten Asia domination, as well as threatening Europe and taking France. Although 2 in Afghanistan, 1 in West Germany, AR2, then potentially jam France AR3, which leaves us with 4, 5, 6 to play scoring cards. I don't love it, and again, that requires us to coup AR1. And we do need to play this Middle East scoring at some point. Let us forget about the dream of Europe. And let's focus on trying to get something good happening out of these other 2 scoring cards. So, we'll coup with the nuclear test ban since, firstly, Middle East, we'll go Iran rather than Italy because Middle East scoring is open and access considerations. Works out pretty well, doesn't give them a counter coup, gives us the opportunity to dominate in the Middle East. So all in all, pretty good. Also gives us the opportunity to set up Afghanistan in the next action round, although we won't be able to also set up Middle East domination in that 1 AR, but that's okay. I don't mind that too much. Okay, NASA's going to be handy here as a counterplay. The question is, do we do it right now and give them the opportunity to coup us there? Probably not. I'd probably rather make 2 problems for them here if we can, rather than just the 1. So let us place 2 in Afghanistan. As I said, unfortunately, we can't dominate on this 1 AR, but even if they were to take Libya, we can set up domination in the next couple of ARs. The other option is that the other thing is that we can coup Libya as well. So I think we do it like this. Although I think at this point taking Iran is worse. So because we can get couped back. So let's just take Iraq instead. I think. Possible that taking Syria is better there. Because we can then coup or Nasser. And not have to still spend an action round or some influence trying to take a non-battleground country, but we'll see how we go. We may get to pop this Asia scoring next AR. Unlikely, but possible. Again, that was one of the advantages of creating another problem for them in terms of Asia scoring, is that we can potentially buy ourselves some time in the Middle East. Let's see how we go. Okay, so they even things up there. Deny us the opportunity to just straight up take Egypt with Nasser. Now here, if we go into, so we're gonna UN intervention. So we've got to play this reasonably carefully. So I think If we go 1, 2, 3. Again, frustrating that we can't set up domination again. Though we don't really want to get cooed out of Pakistan is the other consideration here. Maybe... Oh, we don't really want a NASA. Maybe we do just let them have the coup here if they want it. Perhaps we're just getting too caught up with these scoring cards. Perhaps we're happy to just take even scoring on the Middle East here. Are we though? It was a difficult hand to manage. The question is, can we create enough problems for them to threaten both dominations? I think we can at least spend one more AR threatening Asia domination here. But it does, we are kind of rushing into it, and it does give them the opportunity to get back to this important region of the board, which I'm not desperate to do. Perhaps we just do this. It does force us to use the 4-ops card to coup for the Middle East. Again, I don't love it. Maybe we just take the VP from Asia if it's too hard to get in there with DEFCON where it is. Yeah, maybe we do that. And then we'll move into the Middle East with
our efforts are made in
where our efforts are a little easier. Our efforts, to use the same words as the voiceover. Our cards are a little more suited to attack in the Middle East here, but also we're giving ourselves less, we're giving our opponent less of a chance to get back in regions that matter, plus we're also not giving them the opportunity to go into Thailand by lowering DEFCON. So I think leaving DEFCON at 4 with them not having any access to this area is decent for us, and the only way that we were realistically going to set up pardon me, Asia domination there was either to put 4 in South Korea or go here. Okay, so they chose to lower DEFCON, which I'm not terribly sad about, actually. Let's go... see how we go. I mean, I know that we've now given them the opportunity to coup us in Iran, but do we think they have another high-ups card here? The other option is to coup in Egypt, but I just don't love it. Like, rolling one just feels so bad there. We could NASA this AR. We give ourselves more options, plus if they coup us now in Egypt, we care a lot less about it because they already had access to there, and we can just shore up the rest of this area with our last AR, and, you know, they may not have enough ops to deal with it. So they may fail, or they may succeed. Okay, so they rolled well. Look, I mean, that happens. I think it's much better that that happens than that they get Iran. Plus, now the war's out of the way. The question is this the best way to place our influence? I think it is. It may well be that they have, you know, difficult cards in hand. Like, they've had a pretty light on hand in terms of Soviet events so far. They haven't had anything problematic to do. They may have to space here, or at least give us some good in Europe with one of the good red cards that attacks Europe now. Okay, so that worked out really well. Sweet. So we didn't lose out at all in any of the regions with the 3 scoring cards that we had. We didn't gain a huge amount, but, you know, 4 VPs is nothing to sneeze at. And I think we've got a decent position here. Okay. So spacing, you know, obviously evens things out, but our hand now is fantastic. And this is not only a fantastic hand, but it's a fantastic turn 2 hand in terms of obviously having decel and decal. But when we know defectors are not not a possibility. So we've got some ops for later in the turn. We've got special relationship, which we can potentially play if the relevant Suez Crisis comes out. Otherwise, I will play it later in the turn just in case it does, but you know it's not a huge deal if it doesn't. Having control of Truman is always nice. Sorry about the little coughs there. And Decal will be the headline because it gives us such sweet, sweet access. Little annoying that we're now going to have to Truman them some influence in Romania, but you know, what can you do? Sometimes that happens, and if that's their headline, so be it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I think our coup wants to be on... It's going to be one of these 2-up cards. Arab-Israeli war is worse. We may want to event Fidel, potentially. And we're going to coup Panama here, I think. Decent. That is obviously a region that they have more capacity to get back into than us in terms of Panama Canal returns. But, you know, we also have liberation theology and some other options for getting in there as well. So all is not lost. But we've now set up, obviously, some decent threats. They chose to take Thailand, fair enough. Now we get to take France. And it may well be that we actually take Romania. Feels miserable. I don't know. We'll see what happens later in the turn. So anyway, let's take France and probably block them in by taking Laos here. We also want to probably pressure South Korea a little bit. It may be also that we de-style this Romanian influence out if we think that we're going to play Truman Doctrine and we're not going to end up taking Romania. We don't just want to lose 3 influence when we've got de-style in hand, so that is also a possibility. But we want to try and move into some of the Mediterranean countries as well, just to set up some of those non-battlegrounds in Europe. So SOCGov goes, and they overprotect Thailand. Okay. So I think now we're going to start moving into India and Pakistan since we know the war's out of the way. Pakistan's a good get for us at some point later in the turn. But let's think. We may want Fidel. We're going to have to be a little careful of special relationship. In fact, we may end up spacing that. We may not. We might just break control of UK with it. Might be better than 1 VP, depending on what happens with the rest of our influence. So the question is, do we want to de-style now? I think so. And the finish, and we'll go 1, 2, 3. Mexico or Panama. Mexico is easier for the random realign, so I think we'll just go into Panama here. It may have been more advantageous for us to do that later in the turn in terms of being closer to be able to use our containment influence to shore it all up, but by the same token, we can just use Fidel here. And we've now freed up our Truman Doctrine as well. Okay, so they're choosing to work their way around. Also worth noting that socialist governments is going back in, so having Italy adjacency here is really handy for us. Let's just use Fidel to start shoring up South America, I think, we just don't want to get realigned out of here. And then we'll move in here to make that an easier pickup for us later in the turn. We do want to end the turn preferably dominating in Asia as well as the Middle East. We can coup Egypt AR1 next turn, but keeping up the pressure, obviously we don't just want to focus on South America too much. We do want to do that next turn though before Voice of America comes into play. Okay, so they're choosing to shore up Europe in particular. Fair enough. And they're, even now because Romania is giving them the victory point. So I think the breaking control with the special relationship is less interesting to us here. So let's just trigger Truman. Lose that Austria influence. And then I'm pretty happy to show Pakistan. We don't want to spend much more time on Southeast Asia until Vietnam comes out. We may just, get lucky and be able to use a little bit more, influence a little more efficiently if they are forced for some reason to play Vietnam early. But I think they've gotten rid of it already, haven't they, on turn 1? Do they have Vietnam? No. Okay, so it's going to be either coming later this turn or next turn. CIA created... Did they put one in Libya next turn? Last turn, did they? Yeah, they did. I didn't even notice that. Okay, so they've evened things up in the Middle East. We're going to containment this AR. Let's go. Probably take South Korea here. It gives us access to 4 battlegrounds that makes it a little more challenging for them to try and combat us in Asia. We also have to give them Formosan, and we haven't given them US Japan Pact thanks to a handy UN intervention. Being this far ahead in the mid-war regions at this point is nice as well. I'm going to take things a little more quickly because I think we've spent way too much time on these first couple of turns, but it has been good to work our way through it all. Okay, so we get Vietnam. Nice. So they square things up in Asia with that. Overprotect Italy, just in case of the socialist government's headline from us next turn. So pretty weak, but we can't complain about that, considering the hand we had last time. Pretty happy to coup in the Middle East AR1, so we don't really want to ditch that. Let's just headline the war. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Take those VPs any day. We'll headline just in case they Warsaw. And we'll go into Libya. So they may have a 3-ups here, but if they don't, then we get to score for domination. Even if they do, we can move into Saudi Arabia and take Pakistan as well to move back into a dominating position in Asia. And then we've still got another 4-up to do some work in South America and Central America before the end of the turn. So a very, very fortunate and good hand for us here. We can 5-year plan special relationship to repair any damage from that later in the turn. So good that we use NATO there. Or do we want to get rid of Romania? I actually don't mind getting rid of Romania here. It's a VP. I know overprotecting is nice, but so we will place into Saudi and Pakistan to set up that double domination again. Which one will it be? As far as they're concerned, which one do we have in hand? And then, yeah, we've got some sweet ops here to be able to fill up some of these other countries that we have access to that they don't. I'm not really minded to take Burma until we've taken India. And I don't really want to fork over the China card yet. So we know they've got Suez Crisis that they're going to have to deal with this turn. So if they do play it, then we get special relationship for free, which is handy as well. Okay, so they choose just to even up the country count. I think I'm reasonably happy to just take the 1 VP here from the Middle East scoring. I mean, we can try and break control and fight about all sorts of things in the Middle East. The other option is to spend 3 ups flipping Lebanon and demand a 3 ups card from them, which if they weren't willing to take Israel on that AR, maybe they don't have a usable 3 ups card. So maybe that's better. I mean, they can use 2 ups to just grieve us out of one of these other countries, but let's just see, try our luck here. Because the couple of VPs, I think it's probably worth it, considering we do, as I said, we know that they've got Suez Crisis, so if they do use the Suez Crisis to flip this back, then we've also freed up the special relationship ops here. And that also is relevant because it gets rid of one of the ops that they could have used, or one of the influence rather they could have used for taking a battleground country in the Middle East as well. So I think we've just got so much to do with our ops here that we're pretty happy to take that result. Just bank the VP, move on. We could have used special relationship there, but I really don't think they're going to repair it on this AR. Okay. So now I'm a little more minded to take Burma and India, but I think I'm pretty happy to just take Burma. If they want to take Burma, it's not the end of the world. Let's take some more battleground countries elsewhere in the world. So we want to be in a position by the end of the turn where they can't Voice of America us out of either of these regions in South America, if possible. And we'll hold on to 5-year plan into next turn. So let's take the
challenge
Venezuela
of the 20th
first.
century is the challenge of human relations and not of the impersonal,
and then we'll go
natural
1,
forces.
2, 3, 4, I think, with Marshall Plan. We may decide to go into Zaire instead, but I think it's more, I generally favour protecting this South American position when we have destyled in there rather than worrying too much about Africa, because we generally have the coup and the opportunity to get back in there. Alright, so with Decol still in the deck, this sort of situation is a lot more precarious for them than this situation is for us. Like, North Asia is a lot more secure generally because of the Southeast Asia access cards for both sides. So I am just going to, you know, if they want to spend their last AR taking India, I'm just going to stick with the plan in South America. And we'll take 5 and 5 so we can't get VOA'd. We give the Marshall Plan, yes, but, you know, we're still in a reasonable position in Europe for now. And we haven't had to use the China card here. And we've got some, you know, decent coup targets for the next couple of turns. Just because, you know, Libya, Egypt, you know, this is very Muslim revolutionable. These are also OPEC countries, so we've invested some ops here earlier than I normally would in a game, particularly in Iraq and Saudi Arabia, but not only did it force our opponent to overcommit to a region where their influence is very vulnerable, but we also gained a few VPs along the way. So I think it's worked out pretty well. Africa scoring is a nice pickup. Asia scoring is okay, but it's probably difficult for us to do it particularly profitably. So I'm almost tempted to dump it in the headline phase. The other opportunity is to duck and cover rather than cooing, which I actually don't mind in terms of setting up Africa domination. So that may be what we do there. In any event, I think let us headline the Asia scoring here and then move in on Africa. Yeah. So we've definitely had the control of the scoring cards in this game, which has been very handy. Okay. So let's duck and cover. We're going to have to be very careful of, obviously, but we'll be able to space it. It would be nice to be able to set up something sweet in Africa at the same time as setting up something in South America. So I think let's go like this. I think doing it this way is better. Even though it doesn't give us domination, it still gives us 2 VPs, but they're more secure than the 3 VPs that we'd get by going into Botswana. And it still demands a response from our opponent as well to this Brazil problem that they have. And if they do want to give us 5 VPs, I'm pretty happy to take those at this point as well, given our position elsewhere on the board. Southeast Asia scoring is going to do well for them, but that's about it. Okay, so they choose to coup in Uruguay, which I mean does indicate that they might have South America scoring. But do we want to play that game here? I think I'm pretty happy to just bank the 5 VPs. I don't think our situation there is going to get heaps better. And this is threatening enough that if they do have South America scoring in hand, obviously they can't play it now. And we can coup back here later in the turn, but you know, we also want to be mindful of the fact that our hand is not amazing now. So we'll be cooing Uruguay back at some point and threatening this Brazilian position, but I don't think it's going to be yet. I think first, we've also got the war as a source of VP, so let's just do this for now. Okay, unfortunate. They do have a couple of space options themselves. The brush one Venezuela is nice. Okay. So, look, I mean, you know, when your opponent has Junta and Brush War, there's not heaps you can do about it. Perhaps we could have pushed for the domination as well in Africa, but I'm not too upset about how we played that. We definitely want to coup Uruguay at some point. I think probably now that Africa's out of the way, we don't want to be threatening the South Africa realign. Would have been nice to get that extra VP back there, but anyway. Let's just go Quagmire now. work out as well as I might have liked. They've still got 2 space race opportunities this turn, and also we control Indo-Pakistan War, so I'm not too worried about playing Arsenal now as opposed to later in the turn, because I think it's much of a muchness at this point, seeing as they have the opportunity to space 2 cards. And I do want to take India here. Interesting that they dumped Panama Canal returned. Okay, so they're taking the BPs from arms race. Fair enough. I think it's probably a reasonable thing to do when you're down 12. I don't think. Do we want to just do the war here?
And so, my fellow
I think that is better than just going Uruguay. Let's just do that.
What your country
No dice,
can
but
do for you.
we get the
Ask what you can do for your country.
Millops, which is nice. Fair enough. I think we just trigger 5-year plan to get rid of another one of these cards. Cool. Now what do we want to do? We'll probably overprotect France. And then maybe 2 in Botswana. I know that we just scored Africa, so that's actually pretty bad. Europe's still open. We have John Paul in hand, but we'll probably, hopefully, be able to space it next turn. The other option is to flip Cambodia. Yeah, I think that's actually not so bad. Just to put some pressure back on in Asia. So the question now, if we do get the coup, assuming that we get the coup next turn, where do we go? Well, I think that probably settles it. We'll go to Central America. Headline, I don't mind South African unrest to threaten to kick them out entirely. I also don't mind socialist governments with Europe unscored, but Italy being how it is makes that a little less attractive. Let's headline South African unrest, I think. That is a huge problem. Well, let's do what we can. What we can is at least something. We're at least going to get presents here, so that's okay. But no Fidel and no liberation theology or Junta into Mexico. Means that we are a little behind here. Also unfortunate, but gives us an opportunity to repair the damage. We're going to have to play Alliance for Progress at some point this turn, and things ain't getting any better. So we'll just cop that. So that has been a difficult little period for us, unfortunately. But I still feel okay about our board position generally. It was unfortunate that they got Muslim Revolution and were able to pitch it. This makes socialist governments mildly more interesting, although still not amazing. I'm happy to ditch this at this point, given that we are purged, red scared. We don't really want to give them puppet governments. We don't love giving them Voice of America, obviously, as well. Oh, they got puppet governments, so there you go. So we are going to be giving them Voice of America, which is something to fear a little bit in terms of our Africa position, unfortunately. So we'll go the realign, probably in our next AR. Oof, okay. We won't go the realign in our next AR now. That was extremely unfortunate. Instead, I think, do we just event Portuguese Empire crumbles? I think we probably do. Just because 4 influence is better than 1. Ouch. So unlike last game, we managed to get out of the bear trap without too much damage. It does hurt, being red scared and still being in this rather precarious position, but that's okay. Ouch. Lots of good blue cards coming out here. In a very unfortunate way. So we'll have to give them puppet governments here. And then we'll take back one of these battlegrounds, depending on where they put their puppet government's influence. Okay, so we'll take back Zaire. And then we're going to have to give them Voice of America, which means we're going to lose our Panama position, very probably. Or we give them JP, but I don't love that. Yeah, I think we're just going to hold JP. We'll give them VOA as much as it pains me. It's bad enough when you only get 2 to replace it, but only getting 1 is extraordinarily painful. Thankfully, they don't have too much adjacency to our, like we've got quite a good, decent bulwark in Northern Asia and the Middle East, that it's a little more difficult for them to cause us significant amounts of pain there. Okay, so I kind of missed one. That was 1 in Cambodia. Yeah, the 1 in Nigeria. Okay. It's possible that we coup in Africa rather than placing influence here.
Our goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom.
Probably do.
Here in this hemisphere. And we hope around the world. God willing, that goal will be achieved.
We could also have couped Nicaragua there, but I probably want to coup back in Africa with our AR1 coup next turn, assuming that we get it. Okay. Don't mind headlining Fidel, and then Liberation Theology later in the turn. Headlining Cultural Revolution, also okay here. Fidel not so good, whilst they have Nicaragua though. Allende not doing a lot for us. Let's go with Cultural Revolution. there's a decent chance now that they have lone gunmen in hand, so we'll see what we can do about that. That may also impact on what they choose to do with how I learned. Okay, straight down to DEFCON 2, fair enough. Let's... Coup, we are going to coup. We're going to give them OAS founded anyway, so let's just give them that. See what happens. I think my focus this turn is going to be on Central America. Just given that we have two really relevant cards there. And so if we can set up a reasonable position, that would be good. So I'm hoping that they choose to attack Argentina here with these influence rather than moving to Panama. But they may not decide to do that, given that they don't actually have access to Panama. So this is a little bit of a gambit, but I also want to do it now before we telegraph that Central America is where we're going. Okay, they chose to split it. We'll coup Nicaragua now. Yeah, it's just about the worst possible result. Well, it is the worst possible result. Who am I kidding? Very unfortunate. So the South is lost, sad to face.
когда мы, знаете, обгоним вас и скажем, господа, капиталисты, до свидания, наш поезд сюда идет. Пожалуйста, за нами.
And we do want to try and make some inroads into Southeast Asia if possible at some point. Let's just use Allende to take that. We want a coup on Nicaragua again this turn, ideally. That's unfortunate. So let's UN intervention Nixon to do that. Oh boy. In some ways it's okay, because no one having influence in Nicaragua is better than us having one there, allowing them the easy coup back in, but still. Would have been nice to get a nice beefy amount of influence going in there.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Cuba.
Ask what you can do for your country.
It would be nice to get Shay next turn, actually. That would allow us to really start flipping things around here a little bit in these mid-war battlegrounds. Okay, sweet. I think we probably want to get rid of the John Paul now. And then save some ops for our last AR. Some usable ops. Sad face, bye Shay. Everything that I say I want just keeps disappearing before my very eyes. It's so sad. I think maybe we take South Africa here. With this. Just keep threatening control. If we can manage to get a coup in on Nigeria. That was quite greedy. I don't think they needed to really worry that much about Cuba, to be honest, but they just spend 2 hours basically doing nothing. In a situation where like it's 0, they're aligning at us at. It's not like it's amazingly advantageous. Anyway, Africa scoring is a nice pickup for us here for the aforementioned reasons. De Gaulle we want to leave around just in case we get challenged in Europe, but it does give us the capacity to look at maybe trying to challenge elsewhere, but I think realistically that's quite difficult given 2 1-ups in our hand and really limited, we're already 2 countries behind. And they've got the UK and Canada very close. So for that reason, I think we'll probably just take the VP. Do we want to give them De Gaulle or Salt? Salt allows them to recover absolutely nothing, gives us DEFCON 5. But that's kind of useless to us right now, other than a China card coup on Thailand at -1. I don't love the China card coup on Thailand here. And otherwise we're going to be getting a coup. I mean, giving them De Gaulle means they get a coup. So maybe it is just better to take the random realigns at DEFCON 5. What can we get? We can try and hit them in West Germany. Europe scoring's out of the way.
En las condiciones de la inmensa mayoría de los países de América Latina, no hay otro camino que la lucha armada. Y esa parece ser la situación también en muchos otros países de Asia y de África.
And we'll take 2 coups. I guess it's okay. We get to missile NB coup Nigeria, they coup back somewhere, we get another coup. Not the end of the world. And better than giving them the only coup this turn, I think. So the aforementioned plan was actually a reasonable success, but a little annoying, because now... No, it's not a reasonable success, it's actually just really annoying, because now we have to coup back, and then they get to take Nigeria. Why does this keep happening to us? They may get greedy and coup us in Pakistan. They'll probably roll a 6 if they do. But I think we'd probably take the 7 VPs at this point. Okay, they've got the we'll bury you, but we get the 3. Sweet, that worked out really, really well for us. 1, 2, overprotect Zaire, I think. Portuguese Empire's out. Check Nigeria. So we get 3 VPs from We Will Bury You. And some from Africa scoring. So this has worked out okay. If we can manage to flip South America back before the South America scoring comes out, then I think we've done pretty well out of the mid-war. A Muslim revolution would be super sweet.
I believe that this nation should commit itself.
But also I think as the Soviets managing to neutralize Europe for the entire game and not give the US any VPs there is a reasonable outcome. But yeah, obviously for the US, scoring South America heavily in their favor does help a lot as well. And the fact that we haven't managed to really get much out of Asia is a little annoying. Plus, they managed to get 6 from Southeast Asia scoring, which is very painful. That's about as bad as it gets, isn't it? Wowee. Okay. So do we go realignments? Or don't we go? I think we take the 2 1-ups battlegrounds here, or do we... No, this is worth a China card. Just remember. Since we have the scoring card, I think that's a situation that calls for China card usage. Even though we know they have lone gunmen, and we could try and kill them next turn if we got terrorism, I think it's probably still worth doing it this way. So now do we realign Angola and risk losing our own presence there, or risk losing Zaire again the following AR if they have another 3-ups to flip? We're realigning it even. Do we want a coin flip on it? What else do we have the option of realigning? Not a lot. If we're going to do it, we use one of the 2-ups. I think we do it. Okay, we'll do it again. At least forces them to play back in. That 6 they rolled on that Botswana coup just really coming back to bite us. Okay, so now we'll just bomb it. I mean, that was worth 4 VPs if we rolled well there, so I think it's worth the coin flip at that point. Okay. What is the best use of 1 operations point? Just coup. Ah, no. Lost Shay again. So sad. We can... just overprotect France for later. We can start playing into Israel, which I don't mind as well for final scoring. I think that's reasonable. So that's still in the deck. Oh no, they've just played it, so it ain't getting played. This is interesting. Interesting and unfortunate. Asia scoring, we can pop in the headline phase, but I think we'll just pop Muslim Revolution instead. That seems pretty sweet. I also don't mind Latin American debt crisis later in the turn. Yeah, I don't mind this at all. And we've also got Marine Barracks bombing, so we've got some sweet Middle East attack this turn. We can pretty much wipe them out. Getting rid of Libya and Iran here is pretty huge. And then we can get rid of Egypt and Lebanon with Marine Barracks bombing, which is going to cause them, hopefully, a world of pain. But we're going to have a little bit of difficulty with this South America scoring. But we'll do our best. Hopefully the debt crisis will help us out there if we get pretty lucky. Okay, CIA created it is. Probably means that we're going to have a little more of a struggle this turn. But we'll see how we go. We also don't have a 3-op to flip Laos, which is a bit annoying. You can't have everything. So if they coup here, then we just can pop Asia scoring and it's not too bad. They placed influence instead, fair enough. So we get a coup, and let's go into... So we're going to use this UN intervention this time, I think. Yeah, might as well. Oh boy. That's enough ones on coups for us, I think. If they don't take Angola here, then we can go Libya and Angola. If they do, then we can go into Iran instead. But I think, okay. Like that. So we'll go Asia scoring for now, I think. Maybe we're Marine barracks bombing them here. Yeah, I think creating the threat that way is probably a little better because we're setting up a decent position for final scoring there. They know that the debt crisis is coming, so I'm probably not going to event it. And we've got a limited ability to fight our way back in. The other option, I mean, if we had more ops in our hand, we could have Latin American death squadded and tried to coup our way in via Uruguay and realign them out of Argentina, but the fact that they can play into Paraguay is just too much of a problem there, I think, for that strategy to work out when they know what's coming. Okay. So, in that case, I think we'll play there. And there. So we've ended up like reasonably on the defensive quite significantly this turn, even though we had a few good attack cards, but that's okay. So they had a scoring card to dump. We've got the ability to dump Asia scoring now. And then that frees up a little bit of space for us to keep attacking Middle East here. Being able to Muslim revolution them out of Iran here was just really, really huge. That access, and they may try and brief us in Chile to get rid of our presence, but I think the fact that we've got one more playable AR is okay here. Okay. All right. So Iran-Iraq war probably our friend now, but anyway, we'll dump this because we have to. It's an unfortunate thing that South America has not been our friend. I always prefer games where South America is your friend, particularly when you get the D-Star early, but I mean, Junta Brush War, I think it was on turn 4, was big bad news for us. Yeah, it was. Okay. Let's go like these. just to give ourselves a chance in Iraq still. And we'll try and focus on regaining this Africa control if we can next turn.
Today
So
I
he
say, as long
goes-
as this gate is closed, as long as this scar of a wall is permitted
I
to
think we'll leave them
stand,
with lone
it is
gunmen.
not the German question alone that remains open, but the question of freedom for all
Since
mankind.
we've got the double terrorism capability here. All right. Decal is pretty nice. Pershing is nice, but we'll do that, I think, later in the turn.
Mr. Gorbachev,
Might
tear
even hold
down
Pershing,
this wall.
potentially. One small step. Pretty useless, but... Yes. Star Wars obviously need to deal with duck and cover. Actually, we're going to need to hold, so... this hand's very, very awkward. 5-year plan. 1, 2, 3. I think we're just going to Zaire just to make the coup a bit better. And then we'll coup with an evil empire. Right, so we could... Yeah, we'll see what our opponent comes out with here. We're going to have to play the China card this turn, and we're going to have to... What have we got? If they terrorism us, we're probably dead. We can also one small step as well as spacing to try and even it up. Okay. We'll just play one of our one-ops, so we don't have any other one-ops cards, do we? So let's space first this 5-year plan. No, space duck and cover. Then we'll one small step. In the hope that that frees up Star Wars from being a killer. So getting red scared again, not ideal. And they've certainly had the rub of the green in the last few turns. But, you know, we know that they've got lone gunmen sitting in their hands, so they could have a bit of awkwardness hanging around. Please fail. Thank you. I think, given that, we're not going to rush too much on the one small step, and we're just going to try and create some problems. Where else can we create a problem? I think we'll just try and demand their time here. Because the one thing that's good to be able to do, obviously, when you're red scared is kill a lot.
Because it does such violence to the spirit, thwarting the human impulse to
So
create,
we can manage that. So
to
we've got 4 more
enjoy,
cards to play.
to
Hopefully it's
worship.
through these 4. Yep. Okay, if they want to realign, I'll see Cuba next turn. We will take that. Damn. They didn't take the bait, and now we get to have a coup. Fingers crossed. Wait, let me just check this DEFCON warning, don't lose the game. If there's a head on the space racetrack. Yes, I thought it was that. Cool. Awesome, that worked out so well. Oh boy, I'm happy. And we freed up ourselves to hold 5-year plan into the last turn. I mean, look, the most unfavorable scoring card is already played. But if things go terribly in the Middle East, then it's possible that we could want to ditch that as well, I suppose. Cool, so let's go one into Nicaragua and...
Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity,
what
for
do we
the
want to
Soviet
overprotect for
Union
turn
and Eastern
10?
Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate.
Panama, I
Mr.
think.
Gorbachev, open this gate.
And we want to overprotect Algeria as well. But that's also a realign possibility. Although, even at +3, realigning your own countries is a bit questionable. So we're pushing in the last action round. And then I think socialist governments is out. Just from memory, it's already been used somewhere here. No, maybe not. But yeah, socialist government's headline turn 10 could work on Italy as well. We can also use pushing to get rid of NORAD if they try to take Canada here. So we know they've got lone gunmen, and then they could have some other difficult events, hopefully. We've just got to keep the pressure on as much as we can. Zaire is still a little bit of a problem, but the fact that we've now got the influence in Angola means that realigning Zaire is much worse, so I'm less worried about coupping Cameroon. If we had got Shay at any point, it would have been so sweet to be able to coup Uruguay and Botswana, but we never got Shay, sadly. So this delay, uncharacteristic for our opponent from what we've seen so far in the game, indicates to me that they are probably managing some difficult cards in hand. Only scoring card left in play is the Middle East. So it's probably not a difficult scoring card, but even OPEC probably difficult for them right now. It may be that they're also wanting to hold onto something good for a headline next turn, trying to figure out if there's any way they can, but I think
backwardness
given that they're holding the lone government,
such violence to the spirit,
we know that that's going to
thwarting
be a
the
little hard
human
for them.
impulse to create, to enjoy, to worship.
5-year plan, I mean, it isn't okay for one for us to take into turn 10 anyway, because we can turn a bad final play into something decent. So really good for us that they chose to do the Canada play right then. Gave us the opportunity to counter straight away. And we get to coup Angola. The other option, of course, is that we can coup Argentina on 10-10 to deprive them of a scoring opportunity. Okay. Adjacent at 2. And the lone gunman is the only one they have left. Alright, so they do choose to take the NORAD. And we've got a very blue hand. Wow. So grain sale's not what we wanted to see when we'd held on to 5-year plan, but anyway. So we can just go for the realigns all over the shop. I guess that's all we can really afford to do here. So they are going to get a no-red placement, probably in Algeria.
If you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization,
Yeah, they're going to go Europe. I assume so.
Gorbachev, open this gate.
That could be a problem for us if they have Eastern European unrest, because we have no way to get back in. Where have they chosen? Asia. Okay. So I think we just go coup first. China card, or no, probably just, I don't want to really give them North Star, but we have to. We'll go here. Unfortunate. Again, another one on a relevant coup, but what can you do? Not much. We've got 2 minutes 21, so we've got to think about this. We're going to have to sequence China card Usuri stuff carefully. We're going to have to just space the grain sales, I think, so that we can 5-year plan.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. That's the 5-year plan. And we'll Usuri to give them the China card late in the turn. We'll just try and cause them enough problems elsewhere on the board that they can't afford to grief us too much in Asia. Alright, so we'll try and get these realignments right. Let's space grain sales first. Oh, we can't because we need to 3 up. Okay, that's a problem. We'll coup them in realign. We've got very limited time, so we're going to do this really quickly. No. Okay. Even under Iran Contra, couldn't get that happening. We'll use special relationship as well. We can also place into West Germany. Don't love that. I mean, we just have such a bad hand here. I think we're just trying to cause some grief.
The totalitarian world produces backwardness.
Them realigning here is just so bad. I don't know that they know that
thwarting the human impulse to
Iran
create,
Contra affects
to
them
enjoy,
as well.
to worship.
As it affects their realigns as well as ours. Maybe they're trying to time us out. I don't know. Maybe killing Nicaragua here? So we'll try and hold Cuba. We'll probably coup Dominican Republic with Panama Canal returns as well later in the turn, just to try and set up that domination. We're really running out of time, so we're just going to have to do that quickly now. What do we want to do with Usuri? We probably want to break Argentina. Depending on what they do here. take Mexico if they don't repair it. Otherwise, we'll break Argentina. We'll overprotect Angola. Alright, we'll see what happens. This is going to be very close. So one of their cards is unplayable. So North Sea Oil wasn't so bad. Really depends on what this last one is. If it's a red card that gives us an advantage anywhere on the field, it's probably okay. And it's war games, okay, that's pretty good for them. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. Where does that leave us? +7, +2, +2. I think we still win. 4-0. So they can't loan gunmen. So I think we get there just. A very, very close game. Oh, they can China card. Shit, should have played the China card instead of Missouri. Didn't think that it gave it to them face up. Oh no. Oh no, what have we done? That was so bad. Ooh, still get there. Oh boy, I didn't even think of that with the China card. That's so bad. That is so lucky that that did not come back to bite us. Holy cow. Okay, whew. Well, there you have it. A very close game. Africa came through for us. Happens sometimes. When you have D-Col and D-Style, it's pretty hard for them to come back in both South America and Africa over the course of the game, but we did have to fight pretty hard for it. I think it was really well fought to our opponent to bring it back in the Middle East. It was fortunate that we were able to neutralize Europe for the whole game, as I said earlier. Central America, I think we played reasonably well and put enough pressure on them elsewhere that we were able to maintain a pretty reasonable position there and keep the pressure on and avoid ourselves getting realigned out of Cuba. Asia, we took the more stable battlegrounds early, and once everyone's bunkered down in Asia, it can often be hard to flip it, but it's even harder for the US to flip it, I think, if the Soviets are entrenched in North Asia. So I think we managed that pretty well and forced the battle into areas where, you know, yes, we lost the battle for South America pretty comprehensively, and that cost us a lot of VPs over the course of the game, but we were able to control Africa with our Africa control cards, and once we knew that they had lone gunmen in hand, I think we put enough pressure on them to keep that as a bit of an issue for them. So anyway, hope you enjoyed. We'll be back with another game shortly. I've been Jessemarshall for the Winning Agenda. Thanks so much for watching.